Today I'm gonna explain the strengths and weaknesses of the 13 members of the Order in Sakamoto Days, both former and current. I'm also gonna tell you how Osaragi might actually be stronger than Shiba, and how history might repeat itself, and why Kagaka is no longer weak to poison. Let's start off with the weakest former member of the group, Hyo. Now don't blame me for what I said, okay? Even the members of the Order agree with me. But why did Hyo lose that fight with Kumanomi in Thailand? Well, because Bud let his guard down. That's usually the weakness of strength-based characters, at least as far as I've seen in anime. Of course, some of them just have too much plot armor to fail, like MASH and Saitama. But in most cases, characters that rely on their strength tend to be too confident about their abilities that they end up A. Overextending themselves and burning out in a shriveled corpse like Gon in Hunter x Hunter, or B. Letting their guard down after defeating their opponents only for the enemy to pull out a fatal Uno reverse card, which is what happened to Hyo. He also made the mistake of trying to drown Kumanomi by bringing her underwater, which just put his life in even more danger. He's strong, not smart. Even his attempt at keeping her underwater by interlocking their fingers as he died became useless because Kumanomi, a savage AF even to her own self, and had no hesitations cutting her own arm off. Here's the thing though, could he have won against Kumanomi? My guess? Yes, he could have. He definitely had the strength for it. I mean, dude's the only one holding himself back. And he acknowledged this in chapter 125, but I think his sheer strength could have crushed Kumanomi. He was clearly beating her up in the beginning too, and she even commented on how his blows seemed like jackhammers, even for an enhanced assassin like her. Reminds me of Jack Cyborg from Tekken. Even before his and Kumanomi's fight, he's already shown how strong he was. Remember when Sakamoto and Shin trapped him with an MRI machine? A few panels later, since he couldn't get rid of the machine, dude just casually walks out of the hospital carrying the whole ass MRI machine on his back. Do you know how much an MRI machine weighs at the minimum? This much. But we can't talk about the Order without giving a shout out to the OGs, the men who started it all, Kagaka and Yumura. First, let's talk about Kagaka and how a fall in the bathroom could definitely kill this guy. Your boy's got a bad back, and a wrong fall could cause a slip disc and paralyze this old man. When Uzuki blocked his path while he was bouncing around the mall like a pinball in chapter 110, but he threw his back out after swerving around in emergency braking. And during the mission of protecting the wife and daughter of the chairman of Ja, the man complained about how his back hurt. So Kagaka's weakness is his own body, which could not keep up with his own speed as a deadly assassin anymore. But you thought I was gonna say his weakness was poison, right? Because he did almost die because of it. Here's the thing though, poison is something that the body can adapt to, as proven by King Mithridates, 5th of Pontus. Here's our TLDR on him, basically. He was an a-hole of a ruler, to put it mildly, and he was paranoid of being assassinated, so dude studied toxicology and tried to make himself immune to poisons by ingesting small amounts of arsenic, venoms, and other poisons known to man. And the mofo succeeded, a little too well, I might add, because the moment he realized he was doomed, he tried to take his life by drinking poison. Surprise, it didn't work, and he died painfully by a blade instead. Now kids, the moral of the story is, don't be an a-hole who orders the mass killing of 150,000 Romans and Italians. Oh, and that Kagaka may have become immune to the poisoned condition. Also take note that Kobayashi's poison wasn't just your average bad sushi level toxin. It was super villain grade poison, so strong that Kagaka needed a whole 8 years to fight it off. But he did wake up, which means his body had slowly but surely adjusted to the poison and eventually flushed it out. And as soon as Nagama brought him up to speed with everything that happened, Kagaka was back in action. Like no rest and recover phase, no physiotherapy. The guy went straight from coma patient to a bounty hunter in about 5 minutes. Then we have Satoru Yumura, the other OG of the Order, whose weakness doesn't seem to be some object or some abstract thing, but a person. And no, it's not his psycho wife, whom he killed without even shedding a single tear, nor his son Amane, whom he still wanted to keep safe and be with after he finishes his mission of destroying the Ja. In fact, the only weakness I see that Yumura has is his former student, Shiba. In chapter 97, we saw how uneventful Yumura and Shishiba's first time meeting was. From the way the scene was framed, it looked like assassins were sent to dispatch Shiba, but they got taken care of instead. Hence the "you sure made a mess" comment that Yumura said. But Yumura, instead of killing him, decided to bring him along to his next mission. From then on, Yumura became Shishiba's mentor, and both had formed a deep bond and mutual respect for each other. I guess you could say that before Amane, Shishiba was Yumura's son. And because of that bond, I have a feeling that both of them seem to be holding back against each other. Because Shishiba doesn't seem to be willing to actually kill the old guy. We know for a fact that the old man survived the first time he was sent to eliminate him. And on the second attempt, Shishiba chose to let luck decide Yotsumura's fate as he dumped his bleeding body into the river, along with his 3-section staff. The same goes for Yotsumura. Like, dude's got lightning fast reflexes. I sincerely doubt he didn't do more damage to Shishiba during their fight. Even his wife didn't see him coming when he killed her, and she's a pro assassin. But he also fought off Shishiba and Nagumo and evaded Osaragi's attack while they were all in a moving vehicle. And he cut down 5 assassins in one sweep of his signature weapon, all while drinking sake and listening to music like WTF. Speaking of cutting down people, up next on our list is Kaguri, who has become so obsessed with filmmaking that it became both his strength and also annoying. I mean, also his weakness. Strength because dude straight up deletes people just to get the perfect murder film shot. In chapter 59, Kaguri beheaded 8 applicants in a flash after luring them with the JCC bullets they needed to pass the entrance exam. Shin couldn't keep up with him too. His future-seeing powers were surprisingly useless against Kaguri. Then he slithered behind Sakamoto and Akira without them noticing, dodged Sakamoto and swiped their bullets. He even took Akira with him, just cause he decided she was gonna be the star of his next film. And during his fight with Satora sensei, she couldn't budge his head, because according to him, whenever he holds a camera, he never lets it shake. Dude's head is sturdier than a chicken's head. I don't know if you've seen that commercial or whatnot. He even admitted to killing his own friend and taking his place in the order, just because they couldn't agree about what makes the greatest movie. But, like I said, it also became his weakness. Bro immediately loses motivation when his shots get ruined, like what happened in chapter 62. When all of the surviving JCC applicants landed on the island, Bruh's camera fizzed out in salt water after landing on the beach, and the idiot immediately lost all hope of living. Like your drama queen sister who has major FOMO and goes into a tantrum like the world is ending anytime she's told she can't go hang out with her friends. But he also lost his shit when Taro used his camera to block his clapperboard attack. He screamed like a female dog about it too. And Sakamoto was able to use his own filmmaking stuff against him by setting up metal tubes all around the theater they were fighting in, so that his high-density laser equipment bounces off them and hits him back. Next we have Yoichi Nagumo, the master of disguise. And he's good at them. Like, Nagumo's disguises make you question reality. Like, really early on in the series, he perfectly imitated Sakamoto's looks and almost managed to fool Shin and Jiao Tang. Bro can morph into anyone. He's like the T-1000 from Terminator 2 or something. He managed to fool even Uzuki by pretending to be Gaku after he defeated the real one and left him for dead. Not only that, he can even change others into different people, like how he disguised Sakamoto to look like his wife Aoi to infiltrate JCC. Nagumo would make a killer, pun intended, makeup and special effects artist for Kanaguri's films. Why hasn't brother been recruiting? Here is the thing though, it looks like this guy has no weakness so far. He seems to survive everything thrown at him, whether by slur or by the Ja or just life in general. He's got a happy-go-lucky smile that hides a sinister secret, you know? Like something's off, like the serial killer Dexter type of smile, and he's a deadly fighter. Like, Nagumo has different melee weapons in his arsenal, carrying around a massive assassin edition of a Swiss Army knife. Came with a bunch of blades that he used to finish off the escaped convict minimalist, disable multiple assassins in a moving car before they could even react, and defeat Gaku, leaving him in the corner with blades sticking out like he was a human dartboard. But if there was another person who could probably defeat Nagumo, I put my money on Taro Sakamoto. Now, I don't promote body shaming, nor do I criticize people for their weight, but compared to when he was in his prime, Sakamoto did get fat. I mean, my guy's still a badass assassin who can take down his opponents without actually killing them. He does leave them disfigured and broken. They'll probably suffer for the rest of their lives, but at least they're not dead, right? But the thing is, compared to who he was in the past, present-day Sakamoto has dropped down in the top assassins list. Even Granny Mia, the god hands of the assassin world, thinks so. According to her, Sakamoto's overall fitness is about 30% of what it used to be. She also thinks he's way weaker than Nagumo now because he went dormant for the past 5 years. So she helped him with the fitness issue with a little elbow to Sakamoto's pressure point in his lower denshin, which allowed Sakamoto full access to his prime form strength without needing to slim down. Cause like Granny Mia said, fat guys have their own way of moving too. Reminds me of Bob from Tekken. That guy had a lethal combo with speed and weight like Taro does too. But unlike other assassins who've died protecting the ones they love, Sakamoto's family seems to give him a power-up of some sort. I don't know if you've noticed, but anytime his family is involved, Sakamoto immediately steps up his game and gets this murderous look in his eyes. Like that time when he punched Kashima out of a train into the subway, or when Uzuki brought up his daughter Hana during the attack at the Ja Tokyo Bureau, or in chapter 103 when Kanaguri intentionally threatened his daughter. Even Torres noticed that Sakamoto has a hidden potential that seems to be only showing up when he's with his family, even doing simple tasks like cooking dinner. Well, I guess it's just like what Dominic Toretto said.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family? It's a pretty stupid thing to do.
Now, from a family man to a lone wolf, let's talk about old man Takamura. It might have slipped past you, but it's interesting to note that Takamura-san's only weakness is himself. No one else came close to finishing off the old man when he was hacking off everyone in the museum. Even Sakamoto and Nagamo, two of the strongest assassins in all of Ja's history, didn't last long against Takamura. Only Gaku had the audacity to injure him at the cost of his life though. If Uzuki didn't have a split personality, everyone else would have gotten split, literally. But the problem now is, Uzuki has taken on Takamura-san's personality, which makes defeating him 1,000 times more difficult. It's like fighting one of those video game bosses who have a second phase that's a bajillion times more difficult than the last one. But how doomed is everyone if Takamura Uzuki gets loose? Let's put it this way. Ever since he was officially introduced in chapter 38, the old man left, a small impression, I would say, by cleaving an entire trailer and turning it into a convertible, just because a fly got in through the window. His blade seems to be made from whatever metal Soul Society is using because it can lop off even the foot of the Tokyo Tower, rip an entire office floor in half, and break an entire chunk of a museum. Gramps also makes the cleanest cuts this side of Japan. Even Kashima noted that when he was reattaching Gaku's dismembered body parts. Cuts so clean, even the muscle tissues stay alive. And Takamura-san did leave a live demonstration of his excellent knife skills by cutting off his own arm and reattaching it like a Lego piece. Like, old man, how are you defying the laws of biology and physics right now? Now, if Uzuki's version of Takamura is anywhere near that, then the entire assassin industry is, as the French say, fucked. But enough about the former children of the order. It's time to meet the current gangsters, starting with one of the newest members, Tanabata. Now, if you're thinking, why the hell does that name sound so familiar? It's because you've probably heard it before, especially if you've lived in Japan. Tanabata's name is a reference to the Tanabata Festival, aka the Star Festival, which takes place on the 7th day of the 7th month of the year. According to a Chinese legend, this is when two stars, Altair and Vega, which are usually separated from each other by the Milky Way, are able to meet. And one particular custom during the Tanabata is to write your wishes on a piece of paper and hang that piece of paper on a specially positioned bamboo tree in the hope that your wishes come true. Thinking about it, that's probably why Tanabata was named that way. He was probably wished for by his mom or dad during the festival, and now he murders people for a living. Fun. But what are Tanabata's assassination methods? Well, your boy has some killer tunes. Literally. Remember those guys from that Stephen Chow movie, Kung Fu Hustle? Those music dudes who can cut off heads and rip people open with their deadly music tones. Yep, that's what Tanabata is, except more Gen Z, since he uses an electric guitar. And this guy seems to be able to overpower the others with music. He even managed to disable Osaragi just because she didn't get the right emotions from the song he was playing. And his skills are a little convenient when firearms are not an option. Like, bro managed to send shockwaves through the sewers to stop Sakamoto, Shin, and Nagamo from escaping. Then he hooked up a jack on Sakamoto's arm and sent sound waves within his body with the strum of his guitar. Sakamoto was shook. And I think, like Kaguri, Tanabata's strength seems to also be his weakness. You've seen how he reacted when Osaragi misunderstood his song. I wonder what happened if you take away his guitar, or maybe get another member of the order to, criticize his music. Besides Tanabata, we also have another newbie in the group, Torres the Gambler. Now, I don't know if you think the same way, but it seems like Torres' gambling addiction is going to be the death of him. He was introduced in chapter 169 as this old man who was putting the slot machines to work since 9 AM. But he seems to have crappy luck though, since he's only won one jackpot since that morning. Bro even tried to justify his addiction to himself in chapter 178, saying the only way to win is to keep trying until it happens. He doesn't even want to fight Sakamoto because he's waiting for his bounty to go up first before he collects the big payday. Which is dumb and dangerous when you think about it, because if he tries to collect from someone with a higher bounty, chances are he'd encounter someone beyond his capabilities and he'd end up losing his life. Or he's really that confident. Because of this mindset though, bro got so deep into debt that he no longer uses bullets and guns. Bullets are understandably expensive, but this man would rather bet on horses than buy assassin stuff. Now he just sandblasts everything like a ground-type Pokemon or some shit. And with his trusty sandblaster, Torres can disintegrate anything, from signposts to parking areas and even the entire floor of a hanging monorail. And even though he looks like a frail old man, dude can survive being suplexed into a car from a height of about 30 meters. Up next is our record-breaking sniper, whose world record was a complete lie. Kamihate's world record for long-range sniping was a fluke, because it was actually Sakamoto who killed his target. But he was so insecure about it, he wanted to stop at nothing just to keep Sakamoto from visiting the assassin exhibit and finding out the truth. Spoiler alert, Taro already knew the truth and didn't even care about the record, so he was worrying for nothing. Awkward. I guess that's what you become though when you think trusting and relying on others makes you weak. I mean, Bud believes that within solitude resides perfect strength. Also, this alpha male lone wolf BS made him so insecure he immediately tries to off himself just because Heisuke accidentally saw his face? Like, bro, are you serious right now? You can pick out letters on a piece of paper from miles away just to let Osaragi know she's kawaii. You can control an entire space using a single bullet and hit anyone from anywhere. You can even shoot through an entire building and still hit your mark. But someone sees your face and it's all over? Like the fug? How deprived of love and attention are you? And don't get me started on the obsession about the weather girls. I get it, weather reports are like divine knowledge from heaven for snipers. But Buddy can't even shoot someone who's covering themselves with a weather girl's poster or picture? Speaking of girls, next on our list is Osaragi. Now I don't know about you, but Osaragi gives Wednesday Addams vibes. Like they both dress in dark clothes, are generally calm about everything, but not afraid to dish out a can of whoop ass for those who deserve it. Also, Osaragi might be young, but her skills as an assassin just come naturally to her. Shiba said she didn't even need to go to assassin school. She was just a regular farm girl with a buzzsaw in hand and a talent for sending people to the Shadow Realm. This gives me the impression that Osaragi might be a lot stronger than Shiba, and it also seems like she doesn't know her own strength. When Osaragi took down Dump, an A-ranked serial killer with over 180 bodies to her name, she also managed to wreck an entire shrine. Yep, the Torii Gates. She also wrecked a part of the town while fighting the Geisha, another top-tier assassin. She was demure enough to kill her stealthily though, so people didn't see. Osaragi also got rid of the Firebender and Nexus group, Carolina Reaper. Bud fell into a hole and got diced and sliced like it was Mortal Kombat.
Fatality.
What she doesn't have though is Wednesday's love of scary, terrifying things. Wednesday would be so down for creepy crawlies, spooky tales, and ghosts, but Osaragi, she almost fell into a catatonic state when Seba disappeared before her very eyes like a ghost. Seba really put the fear of God in a badass assassin like Osaragi, for real. And the entire time Shiba was wondering where she was. Osaragi was hiding in the bathroom because of the ghost. Seba even scared her a second time when Osaragi threatened Amane, thinking he was the one who hurt Shiba. I mean, look at her face, right here. From the mentee, let's talk about the mentor, Shiba. His strength lies not just in his sheer physical abilities, but also in his mindset. In chapter 99, Shiba shares a piece of his main principle in life by saying, I like simplicity. I don't want to have to think too much or be weighed down. And this mindset is also what influences weapons of choice, claw hammers. If Torres chooses to use a sandblaster because bullets are a waste, Shiba chooses claw hammers because for such simple things, they're multifunctional. They can hit and gouge, plus they never run out of bullets or need to be sharp. Perfect weapons for a guy who has such a chill approach to killing people. Now Yotsumura might think that the same mindset holds him back from getting higher up in the industry ladder. But for a guy like Shiba, who can go toe-to-toe with his mentor and still have time to get dinner afterwards, what's the point, right? I mean, it ain't much, but it's honest work. I don't want to be the harbinger of death here, but it feels like history might repeat itself with Shiba and Osaragi. Let me just cook for a second here, cause here's my theory.
Let him cook! Let him cook now!
Remember how Shiba failed to kill Yotsumura twice now? It's cause Shiba still has a lot of respect for his mentor, so he couldn't find it in his heart to deal the killing blow every time. Now I think the JA and their a-hole chairman Seiyasaki will use that as an excuse to say that Shiba has failed in his duties as an assassin, and will send out Osaragi herself to eliminate him. But just as Shiba couldn't find it in his heart to kill Yotsumura, Osaragi won't be able to find it in her heart to kill Shiba, and will most likely defy the JA for it. At least that's what I hope will happen, since Osaragi seems to have a stronger attachment to Shiba than what he had with Yotsumura. And the person they'll most likely face together is none other than the leader of the order itself, Oki. Here's another theory I've been cooking up. I think Oki was part of the revolution that overthrew the previous chairman of the JA, which also means he's under Seiyasaki's control, or they're cooperating. Because when you think about it, things seem to add up. The revolution, as Yotsumura's wife put it, planned to overthrow the previous chairman of JA. And since Yotsumura was basically the right hand of the previous chairman, they wanted to keep him under control by taking his son, Amane, hostage. When that didn't work, they framed everything on Yotsumura and sent Shiba to kill him. But even before that, they'd already planned to eliminate Chairman Amo's wife and daughter. And it was only with Uzuki's bargaining that the target was shifted to Kindaka instead. Notice anything about the targets? Yotsumura and Kindaka, both the founders of the order themselves. So it stands to reason that when Asaki took over the chairmanship in the job, someone else would have taken over as the new leader of the order as well, most likely put there with the glowing recommendation from the new chairman himself. Now the rest of the members couldn't have cared less since they mostly took care of business on their own terms. But if the ultimate goal of the hostile takeover was control over the entire assassin industry, then it would make sense that the new leader of the order would exercise some degree of control over its members, you know? The new leader's gotta have some control, man, right? Like calling out how a person is 1 minute and 14 seconds late to a supposed meeting, or saying things like, "I'm extremely disappointed in you," as if they were a father you can't please. Now I admit we don't know much about Oki yet, including his weaknesses nor his abilities, but I can't help but think this guy will be giving Sakamoto's family a really hard time in the future. And Oki might be the leader of the order, but it turns out he's not actually the strongest assassin in Sakamoto Days.